We're going to get started in just 1 minute. This is going to be our most well-attended webinar, and we look forward to speaking to all of you. All right, I think we're just about ready to start. Well, thank you all for joining us, and I apologize for not being on your screen live, but unfortunately I did something to my back, so you don't really want to see me at the moment. So just look at the pretty picture and pretend I'm with you as well. Food insecurity no longer looks like a skinny mother in a tent or a child with rickets. It looks like fast food at the end of the month when SNAP runs out, or rural food deserts where few food banks reach. Its legacy is diabetes, high blood pressure, and obesity. This pandemic has revealed a fragility. It has shown how close people are to the edge of the abyss. They are one paycheck away from, what am I going to do? This comes from America at Hunger's Edge, the New York Times Magazine section from this weekend, September 6, 2020. What is food insecurity? From the same New York Times piece, food insecurity is as much about the threat of deprivation as it is about deprivation itself. A food insecure life means a life lived in fear of hunger and the psychological toll that it takes. The U.S. Department of Agriculture defines food insecurity as lacking consistent access to enough food to lead a full, healthy life. Food insecurity is not always synonymous with poverty. While lack of financial stability is a factor, food insecurity is actually very much to do with proximity to resources. Food insecurity is just as much an issue in cities as it is in rural areas and suburbs, where affordable stores and food banks and pantries are more spread out. It's impossible to discuss food insecurity across our country or in our own backyard without addressing the impact of COVID-19. The pandemic has truly pushed people to the edge. It has compounded challenges of unstable, insufficient income for those who are already food insecure, and has brought a whole new population into a very dangerous place. There are many who managed previously, maybe living paycheck to paycheck, but feeling comfortable in getting by and purchasing food day to day. However, because of economic disruptions caused by COVID, and now the ending of temporary benefits, unemployment, rent forgiveness, there are people who never thought they'd be turning to a pantry calling us for help. According to Feeding America, the unemployment rate in our very own Mercer County rose to 12% in June. In June of 2019, it was just 3%. Feeding America also reports that 4 in 10 people who are currently in need of food in New Jersey are newly food insecure due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In our own backyard, the food insecurity rate in Mercer County is expected to be 13.6% by the end of 2020. As of 2018, it was 8.9%. And by the end of this year, over 50,000 men, women, and children will be food insecure in our county. All right, I didn't bring everybody together to simply share about this sobering outlook, but rather we invited you to see the impact your dollars are making here in our own community. Because while the need for food has dramatically increased since March of this year, JFCS, through the support of our donors like you, has been able to grow in line with the demand. I continue to be incredibly impressed with our staff as they adapt to remote work schedules, strict health and safety protocols, and managing the mental aspect of working day after day through these unprecedented challenges. Hunger prevention through our food pantry and distribution programs is a core focus area of JFCS, which, even prior to COVID-19, was seeing growth with the introduction of our mobile food pantry earlier this year. Since March, we have seen increased demand for food across all of our programs. Our Kosher Cafe program, held at Congregation Adat Israel, is a 4-day-a-week, every weekday for low-income seniors. They receive a hot, nutritious lunch. Prior to COVID-19, we averaged 15 attendees each day. We are currently seeing 25 to 30 seniors consistently each and every day at our cafe. Meals are prepared in a packaged grab-and-go format where seniors wait in their vehicles and staff delivers the meals to their car in a no-contact fashion. Our Kosher Meals on Wheels is now serving 60 seniors with almost 350 meals delivered every week. We were very fortunate to receive 2 emergency grants from the Jewish Federation of Mercer County to expand the program to more seniors and provide more meals each week. The most dramatic increases that we have seen is at our on-site food pantry. Since the outset of the pandemic, we have consistently seen double the number of clients per month compared to pre-COVID days. We have seen the significant increase not only due to our expanded hours, but because of the need. We previously offered private pantry appointments 4 days per month, with the pantry open for emergency visits on an as-needed basis. The pantry is currently open 5 days a week. Community members simply need to call to arrange a time to receive a no-contact pre-packaged bag of groceries. Our mobile food pantry has become a vital resource for the entire community. Never in a million years could we have predicted a pandemic, yet we were more than prepared than many of our partner agencies with the option of mobility. The mobile food pantry has served over 7,500 individuals since our initial distributions in February. We have made 60 stops to our network of 25 distribution partners, a network which is consistently growing and which our manager of hunger prevention, Beth Iglesias, will expand upon next. We are so incredibly proud of the diversity of the populations whom we've been able to serve by having a mobile pantry. We knew at the start that low-income seniors, often with the most significant challenges in accessing available pantries due to the lack of mobility and transportation, would be very well served by our pantry. We've also partnered with Project Freedom, who has multiple housing complexes for low-income adults with disabilities. This was a population entirely new to our pantry services and who would never have been able to easily access our pantries or other resources in Mercer County. As a matter of fact, Project Freedom has decided to present us with an Angel Award because of all that we've been doing for their communities. The award ceremony will take place on November 7th, and we couldn't be prouder. This is simply a snapshot of what we've accomplished in these past months. I would now like to introduce Beth Iglesias, our manager of hunger prevention. Beth has been unbelievable over these past couple of months. She leads our boots on the ground team, and I couldn't be prouder of her. Beth, in coordination with our pantry assistant, have made these distributions possible, packing the truck 3 to 4 times a week, managing calls from clients for the on-site pantry, establishing new partners for the mobile pantry, unpacking deliveries of food, most impressively, driving the food truck, and managing every other day, every detail that comes. Beth will share more in-depth perspective from her first-hand experiences.
Hi, everyone. So Michelle has given an overview of what's been happening the last few months, and I'd like to expand on that, starting with my favorite topic of conversation, which is the mobile food pantry. As you probably remember, we got the truck at the end of January and made our first planned distributions in February and early March. Initially, we budgeted for 2 distributions a week, and we were filling in our monthly schedule to reach 8 distributions a month. Of course, we planned, we reviewed, and we rehearsed every detail before we went out on the road. And aside from a few tweaks in our procedures, everything went very smoothly. Some of you who I see are on this call right now are actually volunteers at our inaugural stops. And then one day, I think it was about March 11th, everything came to a grinding standstill. At first, our partner agencies canceled their scheduled distributions. Understandably, they didn't want their clients or residents put at risk. On the other hand, the number of calls from people who wanted, or should I say needed, to visit our brick and mortar food pantry skyrocketed. As Michelle said, more than doubling since March, or before March. I remember one of the phone calls that really affected me was back when the schools decided that the kids would not return after spring break. I got a call from a mom who worked in a local school office. She was practically in tears, saying that she would now be home with her 3 children who were previously getting free lunch at school. And she had no idea how she would feed her kids. I heard the desperation in her voice. This is a woman who never imagined in a million years that she'd need to call a food pantry for help. And unfortunately, these kinds of calls continue to come in every day. Then as far as our mobile food pantry distribution partners, it really only took them a few days before they called back because their residents or clients were unable to either leave their apartments to get food or have recently lost a job and they didn't know where their next paycheck was coming from. We very, very quickly modified our healthy choice model, and we began offering prepared bags of groceries with nutritious and very basic non-perishables, along with cheese, milk, fresh fruits and vegetables, and chicken or fish. And then again, a few weeks later, the emails and the calls really started coming in. Initially, we were asked to participate in the Princeton Food Security Task Force, and later the Trenton Health Team Food Stakeholders Task Force. In Princeton, we eventually added another low-income housing development to our monthly distribution list. We began providing fresh fruits and vegetables at the Cornerstone Community Kitchen to people who are picking up the grab-and-go meals that are prepared by the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen there. And just yesterday, we had a large distribution for families at Community Park School in Princeton. We have expanded our mobile food pantry distributions to several locations in Trenton, including a low-income senior apartment building with 120 residents. We partnered with the Capital Area YMCA, which began serving grab-and-go meals to literally thousands of children. And we have also provided food through this partnership to families who are living in some of the motels along the Route 1 corridor. And then still in Trenton, where on a good day, the poverty rate is double the national average, they have been hit extra hard by the pandemic. On one of our first food distributions there, I pulled in with a truck and was surprised to see a really long line of people waiting to get their food. There were moms with kids, there were middle-aged men, there were a lot of seniors waiting. It was a hot day. And I really had only seen this on the news before, happening in places like New York City or other large cities. But here, like just really miles away from us, this is what was happening. It was truly, truly heartbreaking. On a lighter note, we had squash that day and everybody was really excited to get fresh squash from us. So that was the big hit item of the day. Also in Trenton, one of my new favorite partners is the Paul Robeson Charter School. I think there's a couple of pictures there as well. One of the teachers had called me a few months ago asking if she could pick up food for to give out to some of her students. And I felt like Superwoman when I let her know that we would not only be able to supply her with food, but we could deliver entire bags of groceries to them. This was really a lovely quote, email that I got from her afterwards. And we now continue to make this part of our monthly distribution. Later, we were asked by the West Windsor Plainsboro School District to collaborate on supporting that district's Title I families. we have made several distributions there. Also, the mayor of East Windsor had reached out to us to serve families there. And we immediately set up distributions not only in East Windsor, but in Hightstown. And I want to add that in addition to our distribution partners, we also saw a really wonderful increase in our donation partners. Here's a few pictures. We have been getting almost daily deliveries of fresh vegetables from Farmer Andy from the Beth El Synagogue Garden. We received about more than 40 pounds of blueberries from Old Trinity Lutheran Church in Lawrenceville, and sizable food donations from the Princeton Christian Church in Montgomery. Also, the Princeton Elks Lodge began directing some of their grant funds to us and now consider JFCS as a regular recipient to their grants. The list goes on and on. The West Windsor Plainsboro Education Association has also been providing donations of milk, oranges, and non-perishables to us. And finally, another amazing community partner who has always supported us has been the United Way of Greater Mercer County. They provided us with toothbrushes, funds for fresh produce, and a few months ago, we even received a huge donation of toilet paper to distribute. And then before I let Helene take over, I just want to quickly talk about what sets us apart from other food pantries. While we've always been able to provide healthy and nutritious groceries, I am extremely proud of what we've been able to provide over the last 6, especially as we were challenged with food shortages, just like everybody else. I'm pleased to report that the bags of groceries that we distribute have been deemed extremely nutritious by outside dietitians that we've talked to. And the first thing that clients notice is how heavy the bags are, and they seem even more delighted when they see or hear that there's cheese, fruit, vegetables, and chicken. And while other pantries really assemble bags based on random items that have been donated to them, your funding has really enabled us to purchase food at wholesale prices and provide consistent inventory with each distribution. Every bag of groceries always has the same items, sometimes different brands of food, but always the same nutritional value. And finally, this has been an incredible, if not tumultuous, few months, and none of this could be done without all of your help. So I am, and we are very grateful to all of you.
Okay, I think I'm up. Good evening, everyone. I'm Helene Isaacs. I'm the Resource Development Associate at JFCS, and we're very grateful to you for all your support and for joining us tonight. I've lived in this community for the past 28 years, and when I first began working at JFCS 2 years ago, I thought I knew about the agency's capabilities. It turns out that the food pantry's offerings are much more extensive and healthier than I ever thought. And when I started working here, I was really impressed with the respect that's shown to clients when they come to the pantry. I repeatedly asked, I said, I feel like we're a well-kept secret, and I was surprised that more people weren't coming directly to the pantry. But I think it's because transportation is an obstacle for people who have challenges in Mercer County. And also, as my colleagues mentioned earlier, there are a growing number of seniors who are experiencing issues with mobility. So it's hard for them to get to our pantry. So all of that went into JFCS's decision to launch the Mobile Food Pantry, to take the food where the need is the greatest to those with the least access to existing brick and mortar pantries. Well, we're no longer under the radar screen, and JFCS's food pantries are much more visible now, especially that the Mobile Food Pantry is out on the road. One indication of this is the relationships we forged with foundations who provide us with grants and our corporate sponsors. 13 of the Mobile Food Pantry's 24 sponsors are local corporations. When the pandemic hit in March, the support from several of the sponsors and foundations we have existing relationships with was strong. From March until today, JFCS has received over $63,000 in grants specifically for the food pantry, in contrast to $15,000 for the same period in 2019. Several of these foundations and corporations reached out to tell us that they were sending checks for COVID-19 relief. No grant application process, no questions asked. These calls were unsolicited and a testament to JFCS's reputation and relationship with these partners. I remember getting one call from one of the foundations on a Friday afternoon, probably the first week that everything just shut down. And she just said she was mailing us $15,000 because she knew that we needed it and we would use it wisely. And I started to cry, and I could probably start to cry now. I was just so touched by their generosity and how people were coming together. So to me, it's really a testament about their confidence in JFCS's ability to provide emergency services and respond to community needs, and demonstrated their trust that the funds that they were giving to us would be well utilized. I'd like to give a special shout out for this moment to these organizations. They include Bristol Myers Squibb, Community Foundation of New Jersey, the Church and Dwight Employee Giving Fund, Firmenich, Novo Nordisk, Sephardic Home for the Aged Foundation, BAPS Charities, Fellowship and Prayer, and the Smith Family Foundation. We have strong working relationships with these supporters. For example, Firmenich's preference was to support their local community in Plainsboro. So we reached out to the West Windsor Plainsboro School District to provide 3 distribution stops that serve Title I families in those school districts, and those were sponsored by Firmenich. Another example is our relationship with Novo Nordisk. In addition to sending JFCS a generous check for COVID-19 relief, we received a call one day from their Associate Director of U.S. Corporate Responsibility and Social Impact. They have a contract with Sodexo, who provides food for their employee cafeteria, and they wanted to leverage that relationship to address food insecurity in our community. JFCS, they told us, was one of the first agencies they thought to contact, and we ended up being one of 3 or 4 agencies that received generous donations for 6 consecutive weeks, all delivered by Sodexo. They were extremely accommodating, and they made sure that all of the items were kosher and met our needs. The donations came in huge industrial-sized boxes, and they took over our office for several weeks, but that's a good problem to have. The good news is most of us were working remotely, so it was less of an issue. Probably more of an issue for Beth, who was in the office, and my colleagues who were in the office, but again, always a good problem to have. At one point, we had an entire freezer full of chicken and a refrigerator filled with fresh carrots. They were distributed as quickly as the food came in, and we are extremely grateful for their support. And we're extremely grateful to all of you, individuals who give generously in support of the agency, and some of you choose to specifically fund the food pantry, and others give unrestricted funds to JFCS. Our community, please know, has really stepped up in response to COVID-19. Since the onset of the pandemic, 86 donors have contributed over $122,000 to the food pantry, with donations ranging from $10 to $35,000. This includes over $26,000 in donations plus an $18,000 matching grant as part of Giving Tuesday Now. During the same period last year, 15 donors contributed over $26,000 to the food pantry. So you can really see the difference from that people were responding to what was going on today. Together, we've accomplished a lot, but there's still much work to be done. It costs $2,500 every time the mobile food pantry goes out for a distribution stop. Michelle mentioned the statistics about food insecurity in Mercer County, and we've all read articles about how the pandemic is having a disproportionate impact on the poorest and most vulnerable members of our communities. They're less likely to have a safety net or a cushion, and with a worsening economy, we expect food insecurity to increase in the foreseeable future. So the need is there, and JFCS can take the truck out more often as long as we have the funds to stock the shelves, the refrigerators, and the freezers. We're doing our best to keep pace with demand, and this is only possible because of your support and the support of our other sponsors. So we thank you again, and I now turn this back to Michelle to discuss what's next.
What is next? That's a question we're all asking. We all know schools are back in session. We also know that this means anything from complete remote learning to alternating days and weeks to half session days for school, all of which equates to a lot of uncertainty as to how to provide meals to students who normally receive free or subsidized breakfast and lunch at school under the Title I program. We did partner with schools over the summer to supplement their meal programs, which were extended into the summer months. However, we have not yet heard from our local school districts on the anticipated needs for this next school year. The truth is twofold. Schools are overwhelmed managing the educational and administrative pieces of returning to school and still trying to determine the most effective ways to reach the students and families in need. For example, some districts have established weekly pickups for a week's worth of lunches. Yet parents are returning to work. If they can't get to that one specific pickup time now, they miss a week's worth of meals. Additionally, there are families out there who never qualified for Title I, but COVID has so deeply impacted their financial position, they are now eligible, but unsure of how to go about the application process. We also know that there are so many who are still jobless, and the extended unemployment benefits will be ending come December, leaving those individuals without a safety net if they are still unable to secure employment. As the pandemic continues to impact our day-to-day lives, it also becomes clear that grassroots community efforts that surged in the spring have not been able to continue at the original capacity, if at all. Many small efforts across our communities were not set up with the infrastructure to keep up with the demand that none of us could have fully predicted. But we're ready. So you want to know what exactly sets JFCS apart? We have the infrastructure, an established network of partners across the county, and a growing reputation in the community with new organizations turning to us each day. We also have a growing mobile food pantry fleet. We are currently in the process of purchasing a van to supplement our mobile pantry efforts. The van will not include refrigeration or shelving to start. Rather, it will help us more easily pick up food donations and supplies from local stores. It will also be available for smaller scale distributions, such as produce-only drop-offs that Beth mentioned to Cornerstone Community Kitchen, or supplying breakfast bags of groceries, shelf-stable milk, and other essentials to Daycare Center. This new vehicle is being purchased by a private donor in memory of my dad. We know that there is growing demand, and we will be able to keep both trucks on the road. And we will have 3 to 4 weeks. Sorry. See, I get all verklempt when I talk about this, and Helene knew that I was going to do this. I'm going to start this all over again. So the new vehicle is being purchased and being covered by a private donor. But with this new capability and knowing that there is demand to keep both trucks on the road 3 to 4 times a week, we also have to be prepared with funding to stock both trucks for this increased distribution. We are so pleased that you are all able to join us tonight, but we're assuming that some of you might have some questions. So right now, what I'd like to do is open it up to anybody who has any questions for any of us about what we're currently doing and maybe what more you could be doing. So please type in the questions in the chat box and we will be happy to answer them. Here's a question. How many more stops can we do? I'm going to let Beth answer this question because she will be driving the truck.
How many more stops can we do? We can do as many stops as we are funded for. I mean, we can go out twice a day with 2 trucks. We can go out 3 times a day with 2 trucks. It's really, I mean, there's so many possibilities right now, especially 1 truck, as you said, can carry different types of items, primarily non-perishables for quick drop-offs, and it really depends on how much, I mean, the need is obviously there and just whether the funding is there at this point.
Next question. What is the most pressing need?
I guess I'll answer that also.
You answer that also.
Yes. Okay. Well, Michelle, of course, would kill me if I didn't say money is our most pressing need, which it is. I am able to purchase all of our food wholesale, so I pay a lot less than we normally pay in the supermarket. But I always say, if anybody's in the grocery store and shopping, we always need healthy cereals. We always need beans. There are still food shortages. You may not see it in the supermarket, but when I try to order like bulk items and wholesale, sometimes some items I'm limited. And so, again, just like whatever anybody is able to do, if you have, young children, take them shopping. And we just say, buy what you like to eat, buy what your kids like to eat. And that's generally what we need all of the time, and just make sure it's on the healthy-ish.
Next question. How do we expect winter weather might affect our operations? Go ahead, Beth, you're on a roll.
Okay. So how will winter weather? Actually, I think it will make it easier because it's been pretty hot this summer. And I don't think it honestly makes a difference. I mean, we are in and out on the truck. Our distributions have changed a lot. And I think there'll be definitely more need over the winter when for the past few years, have always seen increased need over the winter months.
Will refrigerator and freezer capacity become an issue?
Yes. So we do have on the existing truck 2 refrigerators and a freezer. As a matter of fact, we had people in our office earlier this morning to see if we had the electrical circuit board capacity to put another refrigerator in our brick and mortar pantry. And so I'm hoping to get another refrigerator. And then the truck that we are purchasing, definitely we made sure it does have the capacity, and it's been fully spec'd out to add refrigeration and a freezer once we go ahead if we do need that.
So somebody asked, and Helene, I'll let you answer this, but then of course I'll jump in. Will you be looking for sponsors to put names on the new truck, or will it have the same names as the existing truck?
So Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong. First of all, I'm always looking for sponsors. I'll find something to be a sponsor for because we always want sponsors. But my understanding, Michelle, is that that particular van, which is being purchased, we already have someone who's funding the purchase of that van, and it's in memory of your dad, as you mentioned. So I think that is the sponsor of that van. Am I correct?
That is correct.
So mostly I'll be looking for opportunities to, will people be able to sponsor a specific distribution stop with that van, or not really?
Yes, they will be.
Okay.
And now I'll jump in. So as far as sponsorship of the truck, don't forget that we're looking for sponsors for the truck each year. So the bigger truck has our founding sponsors, which we're so thankful and grateful for. But on the other side of the truck, there is a magnetic side of that truck that allows people to sponsor again. So the initial sponsors paid for the truck and paid for year 1 of all the distribution and food, but now we're on year 2, so we need to make sure that the truck is once again stocked. So if you decide to be a sponsor again, your name will go up on the other side, and it will say this year's distributions are possible because of the various sponsors. Am I right, Helene?
Yes, and there's also a spot on the large truck, and I'm not sure, Michelle, if there will be one on the new van that says this distribution stop, not the truck, but this stop is sponsored by. And so, as I said, it costs $2,500 every time a truck, or maybe it'll cost less for the van. We can figure out what the capacity is. But organizations or corporations or people can sponsor individual stops as well as being a sponsor of the truck. Or the van.
Correct, or the van. So our next question is, how many people are you feeding each week? Beth?
Okay. Well, we are, with the truck, we are currently serving anywhere between like 125 to 150 families per week. And it really depends on the weekly stop. I could definitely get whoever asked that question more specific numbers. It depends if we're going to a senior development where that's mostly households of one. We go to some preschools where there's an average household of 5 or 6 people. It really depends, but right now, through the increased distribution of 3 times a week, I mean, this week I think it was a bit close to 175 families.
Wow.
And for grant purposes, I take the information that Beth just gave you, and pretty much we've looked at it over a period of time, and so we say an average family size of 3. So that's what we estimate, because that sort of takes into account the seniors, where it's a household of 1 versus large families. So if it's 150 families a week, we've been saying that we're feeding approximately 400 people a week. And that's just through the mobile food pantry. That it doesn't take into account the families that come, the 100 families a month or 80 to 100 families a month who come to the actual pantry on Alexander Road.
So I have a question here that says, how much do you need from sponsors? So what I can tell you is that it's never enough. And I don't mean to be callous when I say something like that, but the more money that comes in, the more families that we can serve. We will be sending out a letter to everybody who was a sponsor last year on the truck, and you will be contacted to see if you'd like to sponsor again. We will also be making that information available to everybody. To be listed on the truck as a sponsor, it starts at $5,000, and then it can go up from there. To do a distribution site like Helene had referred to before, it's $2,500. So we're really anticipating or hoping for a lot of generosity, because as you know, that there's just so much need that's going on right now. But I also had a question about other COVID affected services at JFCS. So, you know, JFCS, we do a lot of things, and sometimes I feel that we're so focused on food because that's really what's so needed right now in the community. But there are a lot of other services that we offer, and a lot of other departments that are really seeing incredible amounts of need right now. Mental health in particular has seen an uptick in our phone calls. We've been doing a lot of counseling. We've been doing a lot of webinars to help people with anxiety and depression and isolation, which is something that is really affecting everybody right now. As a matter of fact, yesterday we just heard that Governor Murphy had actually cut some of the funding for mental health services in the school systems. So we're expecting to partner with more of the schools that we partner with in hunger prevention. Our seniors are also a big concern of ours. We are feeding a lot of them now, more so than ever, through KMOW, Kosher Meals on Wheels, as well as Kosher Cafe. But we also have been making sure that many of our seniors have been receiving weekly phone calls if they'd like to, because they're very isolated and didn't feel that they were getting any kind of social interaction. We also were able to provide shoppers for seniors if they needed it, or for people who had underlying health issues, who couldn't go to the supermarkets or were afraid. So many of our normal services that we always offer, I kept on saying that we were doing all of our services and performing all of our services, but we were on steroids. And I think that this will continue, this trend. And I'm assuming, and I actually know in my heart of hearts, that JFCS will be able to face any needs that are happening in the community. And we are honestly able to do them because of the support of our community. And so if there are no other questions, we're going to wrap this up, but we really thank you for your incredible support, generosity to the agency, to the community, and we couldn't do it without any of you. But before I end this call, I really would like to thank the staff of JFCS, who has been absolutely positively incredible in everything that they have done, in how they have taken care of the community and how they have risen to the occasion. And as Helene always likes to say, we are no longer the best kept secret in Mercer County, because we have really shined in this situation. And I couldn't be prouder to be the executive director of JFCS. So again, I thank you all. Stay safe, stay healthy. Happy New Year to everybody. And thank you again for all that you're doing for us.
Thank you. And thank you, Michelle, for your leadership.